Hey guys, Ivan here, and we got the results of the 2024 Prague Pro, and Chris Bumstead end up losing to Martin Fitzwater. You can hear it in my voice, basically, and I can't hide the fact that I'm disappointed. I really thought that Chris was going to win this. Even though Martin is part of Hostile, man, I would just love to have seen a classic bodybuilder win the open show, but I guess it wasn't possible. Now, is this outcome realistic? Do you think the judging was done right? Well, you guys know what I thought about the pre-judging. I definitely did think that Chris was winning that one. I have to see the scorecards. As soon as I see it, I'm going to make a video about that, but I am pretty sure Chris won the pre-judging. However, I have to be honest, it was a bit of a different story at the finals here. So, as you can see, and it's very obvious, Martin improved. He improved a lot. He came in fuller and harder, and his stand was better. And simply with his size, guys, it was just enough. He definitely beat Chris here. It was obvious, right? Like Chris here, he was basically in same conditioning as Martin. Maybe he had a little bit tighter glutes, but that's it, really. Everything else, equal conditioning, him and Martin. Just simply, Martin was bigger. Look at the back, and look at it from the front and from the sides. Martin's legs were rounder, bigger. Upper body as well. The side tricep on Martin looked amazing here. It wasn't like this at the pre-judging. No way. No way. I'm sure Chris won the I don't know. Maybe the judges actually still went for the size. Maybe they actually saw that Chris was simply not as big as Martin. And this is open bodybuilding in the end. Maybe it was actually extremely close to the pre-judging because maybe some judges actually had Chris. I'm pretty sure Steve Weinberger had him winning because he put him in the middle the whole time. But at the finals, definitely a complete different story. Martin came in so much better. Like, I was expecting this based on the fact that Stefan Kinzel is Martin's coach. I knew he was going to improve for the finals. But I thought it still wouldn't be enough. I didn't expect him to be this much better, but he actually came a lot better, a lot better. And Chris was the same. Chris did not get worse. He was either the same or maybe even slightly better. But Chris was spot on at the pre-judging. He couldn't have improved much. Martin definitely could have improved. And he came in like, I would say even up to 20% better. So Martin Fitzwater is definitely a clear winner of the finals. As far as the pre-judging, I think Chris won that. But again, it may have been very close because Martin was bigger than Chris yesterday too. He is simply a bigger bodybuilder. Chris had a 4-week prep for this show. If he did a full off season, he would beat Martin. But this simply wasn't enough. And I wanted to see him like 20 pounds heavier. But in that case, his conditioning wouldn't match Martin's. Chris here was a little bit fuller and bigger. And it was amazing. It looked great. It looks great. But, if he was heavier, then again, conditioning wouldn't match Martin's and still he wouldn't have won this show. So really, for Chris to beat Martin, to win shows like this, he needs one off season. He needs to put on muscle, not just fill out his glycogen and do a different peak week. Apparently, he simply needs more muscle. Do I agree with this decision overall? I really wanted to see Chris win this, but after watching the finals, yeah, it was pretty clear to me that Martin was winning this. I just wasn't sure how close it actually was at the pre-judging, but since Martin closed that gap right here, yeah, I guess it makes sense. He's simply bigger, rounder, fuller, more massive, also very aesthetic, and if he didn't nail his peak for the finals, then I think Chris would have won this show. If it was a one-day show, if it was all yesterday, I think Chris would have won. It would be close as well, because again, open bodybuilder versus basically a classic guy, size versus structure, shape, and conditioning. in the end of the day, this is open bodybuilding. But, Chris still managed to place second at a show like this, beating Sean Clarida, Horse MD, Christian Wolski, the German guy, I keep forgetting his name, a new guy, but he's also a former classic guy, the guy that took fourth here. So as far as the rest of the results of the top 5, Sean Clarida was in third, the guy from Germany was fourth, and Horse MD was actually fifth, and I'm guessing Christian Wolski will be sixth. Andrea Prest is probably seventh. So there you go, guys. Chris did not manage to win against Martin Fitzwater. Did I expect this result? Well, based on the prejudging again, no, but after watching the finals, yeah, I mean, they wanted to see Martin win, I'm pretty sure. Like, if Chris won, then maybe Chris would come back next year and do the Open, but the chances of that were very, very slim. And if their top 4 Olympian, who is possibly going to be top 2 or top 3 next year, yeah, I think he could, I think he will be top 2 or top 3. If he's losing now to a classic bodybuilder, I mean, yeah, it's not any classic bodybuilder, it's Chris Bumstead, 6-time Olympia champion. If he's losing against, well, any classic bodybuilder, then kind of like, it makes everything just seem silly, like the open division, If Chris can beat Martin, then there is a big chance of him beating everybody, basically, in that top 3 at Mr. Olympia. And then what's even the point of having classic physique? But maybe this is actually gonna push Chris now to work, to get bigger, and to try it again next year with more size. I mean, yeah, Chris did this for fun, as he says, but you don't become 6-time Mr. Olympia champion unless you have like somewhat of a bodybuilder's ego, right? Unless you are, unless you have that champion mindset. And even though Chris was doing this for fun, look at his face, guys. Like, I don't think he's happy with second place here. Maybe he also saw all the posts, all the voting polls, and in all of them, Chris was winning by far. Chris was like usually at like 70, 60, 80 even percent at some polls. So audience, fans definitely had Chris winning. Are we all biased because it's Chris Bumstead, or we just want to see a more classic looking, more aesthetic looking physique winning the open shows? Or are we actually realistic? Or did they give it to Martin because he's a top 4 Olympian in the Open? Was this a robbery? We're gonna get to that question, but yeah, now after Chris lost this, it looks like he's disappointed. It looks like he expected a win. And a lot of us had him actually winning. So you never know, maybe this actually makes Chris wanna come back and avenge himself. Maybe he's gonna try and put on more muscle and actually do the open division properly, not as a slightly over the cap classic guy, right? But in my opinion, him losing this show doesn't really mean much. I mean, he could have won this. It was close overall. Again, in my opinion, he won the prejudging, but he lost the finals. And since Martin is an open bodybuilder and a top 4 Olympian, I think he had an advantage. Like, the judges didn't want to give it to Chris, even if it's close, right? Even though he's a 6-time Olympia champion, they simply didn't want to give it to Chris unless he truly and 100% deserved it. But, again, this is slightly over the classic weight cap Chris Bumstead. Like, he's almost classic physique here, just a little bit fuller. If he did an off-season, I mean, not a crazy off-season, guys. If he gained like another 8 pounds, let's say, I think he will be placing inside of that top 4 at the Mr. Olympia. I think he will be beating Martin Fitzwater and maybe even Harry and Derek, who knows. If he won this, it would make a hell of a story, but still placing so close in that second, it's still an amazing story. I mean, he did shock the world yesterday. He definitely looked crazy here, but it would have been better if he won, but it is what it is. I'm pretty sure Chris is gonna retire after this now, and if he comes back one day, if he's a little bit bigger, I can see him doing great things in the Open. He definitely has the potential to win the Mr. Olympia if he would be willing to put on more muscle and actually work towards that goal. Anyways, guys, tell me what do you think down below in the comment section. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and for more videos about bodybuilding like this one, subscribe to this channel, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. All the best, and bye-bye.